2022 saw record demand for gold around the world. Central banks had accumulated more that year than at any other time since 1967. And in this video, we're going to be talking about one particular central bank who has increased their reserves the most for the last 3 years. And they're doing it in preparation for what could be coming. Let's explore. And I'm talking about Poland. Their central bank has bought 14.8 tons of gold in April, which is the biggest purchase since June of 2019. In fact, I remember covering that story when they did that before. According to the National Bank of Poland, the country's gold reserves rose to over 7.8 million ounces. That's about 243 metric tons last month, from 7.352 before. This was the largest increase since June of 2019, when Poland's reserves rose by 94.9 tons. And so when you think about the value of all that put together, including deposits and swapped gold, it climbed to $15.52 billion in April. And that's up from $14.5 billion. Now, why are they doing this? Well, nations around the world are preparing for what has been happening around the world in terms of economic uncertainty. And there's a lot of good reason to fear what's happening in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of talk of recession, not just in this nation, but in nations around the world. And so I think it's said best. I think the bank's governor here, the Polish Central Bank Governor Adam Glapiński, said this in 2021, that Poland was planning to add 100 tons of gold to its reserves in order to prepare for the most unfavorable circumstances. And that really can't be said much better than that until this next sentence, which I think really opens it up as to why it's a good idea to own gold. Why does the central bank own gold? Because gold will retain its value even when someone cuts off the power to the global financial system, Glapiński told a local newspaper. Of course, we do not assume that this will happen, but as the saying goes, forewarned is always insured, and the central bank is required to be prepared for the most unfavorable circumstances. This is why we see a special place for gold in our foreign exchange management processes. And I think that's amazing. I tell you, this is why more and more central banks are accumulating gold, because they see the writing on the wall. They see what's coming in one way or another. In fact, we did have a technical recession here in the United States, and we know that around the world, things are dicey, and there's a lot happening. And we have geopolitical threats, and we have other situations that are occurring where nations are pitted against nations in terms of economic sanctions and the like. And so it's always good to have protections. And so when you see where Poland is in the geopolitical landscape, it certainly makes sense for them to prepare. And I think that we can take a lesson from what these central banks are doing. And we can certainly take a lesson to what the Polish central bank is doing in adding more gold to their coffers. And this is something that I have been doing for quite a number of years here, and I think it's a good idea for others as well to have gold in your portfolio. We are seeing more and more demand for gold out of the ground. To try to find gold now is more crucial than ever before, especially with central banks holding it and demand growing around the world. And especially we're seeing more and more people wake up to it in the public and in the investor space. And this is why companies like USGO mining are now starting to drill in a very strategic location now. And I'm going to be referencing an update from a previous profile I did on this company. In this sponsored portion of the video, I'm going to talk about how in the past 3 weeks, shares of USGO Mining Incorporated are up close to 60%. And it's been one of the best performing NASDAQ listed companies. A testament to this is the candidacy of USGO to be included in the Russell 2000 index, and that will be announced very, very soon. Gold Mining Incorporated, which is the parent company, has recently purchased $1.6 million on the open market, raising its ownership stake to 81%. This potential Russell 2000 inclusion could be a game changer, as the ETF fund will be forced to buy shares, and 8 out of 10 are not for sale. This is even before we start talking about the analysts covering USGO, which there are currently none of since it's just had its IPO, its initial public offering. The company owns the Whistler project in Alaska, with 3.4 million equivalent ounces of indicated resource of gold and 6 million equivalent ounces of inferred gold. At today's enterprise value, that makes their resource quoted at about $15 per ounce, whereas 3 recent buyouts in the region occurred over $100 an ounce. And by the way, the CEO, Tim Smith, was involved at selling a company in 2016 at $130 per ounce when gold was $1,200. So there's a lot of potential here with this company. Now, I'm going to post a link in the description below to the company's website where you can check out their corporate presentation and you can contact them for further questions. But I encourage you to do your own due diligence on this company and your research, but they are doing quite well. Drill results will be coming. Some of them may have already come out, and I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing a strong price target for the NASDAQ ticker symbol of USGO. Keep that in mind, and let's get back to what is going on here with Poland. And when we see what we just heard about what Klapinski said, the central bank governor, it means that buying could follow. According to BMO Capital Markets Managing Director Colin Hamilton, we expect central bank buying to remain robust this year. We're talking over 596 tons worth. An ongoing tailwind for gold prices and sentiment, Hamilton said. Central bank gold buying has been one of the driving forces behind higher gold prices this year. And according to the World Gold Council, other central banks that bought gold in April included the People's Bank of China, the Czech National Bank, and the Central Bank of Mongolia, with 8.1 tons and 1.8 tons and 1 ton, respectively. On the other hand, the Central Bank of Turkey is estimated to have sold a staggering 80.8 tons in April to meet surging domestic demand. That's right, the people demand it. So when you have the per capita demand gold out of the central bank, that's kind of what happens. We're kind of seeing similar activity like that happen in Zimbabwe as well, too. And so that is kind of an unusual turn of events, but hey, that it just goes to show you that it is important that your people are safeguarded in this realm. And I may cover that in another video because there's actually more news about that from yet another nation that I'd like to talk about in due course. Turkey has seen a surge in gold demand as citizens embrace the precious metal as a hedge against inflation and ran at a pace of over 85% at one point last year. And currency devaluation as well. We know that they have trouble with their currency as Zimbabwe and other nations as well too. Gold is always the answer for that ultimate safe store value that defeats all other currencies, and it's a no-brainer in terms of its value proposition there. So there you have it. So gold and what Poland is doing there is pretty remarkable indeed to know and to find out here that they have increased their buying at the most this year than in 3 years. Now, we know what happened in 2019. Towards the end of that year, many people don't realize this, but that was when we saw all these were known as repos, repurchase agreements. And that's a lot of money moving around within the Federal Reserve System and these big banks. And that was essentially a form of quantitative easing that was under the radar. And it was also months before the pandemic. It's almost like they kind of saw what was coming. Well, could this be another sign that they may see what's coming again? Well, pretty much there's a lot of writing on a whole lot of walls about what's coming down the pike. So who knows? But nonetheless, it's a good thing to see more news about more and more central banks buying gold. and it gives us, the people that hold gold in physical form, such as you see here, the utmost confidence that we are indeed doing the right thing by protecting our wealth with gold. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Hope you found this video insightful, informative, and educational. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.